goes back to the lizard fear response and things like that. Every new idea that you bring in, I can see you doing a full day workshop just on agility and future readiness. Like that's a whole focus in of itself. But I think we'll keep our focus here for a moment and just in this one. When people are in a job where they're stressed, because what job doesn't really have stress? I know that you've indicated in your research, you found that people are actually quite often they'd rather have another boss than actually more pay or something to that effect.
Yep.
Is it so interpersonal versus financial? Like, how does that resolve itself? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's interesting, right? So let me give you some other leadership statistics. So you mentioned 65% would prefer to have a new boss compared to more pay. 75% of employees say that their boss is the worst and most stressful part of their job. 82% of employees state that they can't trust their manager to tell the truth, right? So employees' experiences with their managers are generally negative as a whole. I'm not saying that all managers and leaders are bad, but the thing that's really interesting to me, because organizations bring me in to work with their leaders and managers, and I know these statistics, and I'll ask these leaders and managers, are you doing the best that you can in your job? And all of them say yes. And then I throw out these statistics and I make the connection. Look, for many of us, our current best is having negative effects on the people that we lead. And why is that? Right? And that's when we start to talk about mindsets and self-awareness. Because at the core, what is going on, what would lead a manager's best to have negative effects for the people they lead is they've got more of the negative mindsets, which are actually self-protecting mindsets. So I'll give you 4 desires here. And I think that all leaders feel pressure to espouse these desires. A desire to look good, be right, avoid problems, and get ahead. Right? I think all leaders kind of feel pressure to look good, be right, avoid problems, get ahead. Because who wants to look bad, be wrong, have problems, and get passed up? Well, nobody, right? So these desires are really easy to justify. But when we look at these desires, where is the focus? It's on ourselves. How do we look? Are we right? Do we have problems? Are we getting ahead? And all of these desires are attached to the 4 negative mindsets that I focus on: fix, close, prevention, and inward. And so many individuals, leaders in particular, when we have these negative mindsets, these negative desires, we are effectively in self-protection mode. And to go back to your original question, is when we feel stressed, what's our natural inclination? It's to be like a turtle that pulls our head in our shells and self-protect, right? So when COVID-19 happens and all this shutdown occurs, stress goes up, most people are inclined to actually take on more of the negative mindsets. But what we need to do is we need to be much more intentional about our mindsets and their associative desires. So instead of having a desire to look good, we should have a desire to learn and grow, which may mean at times that we have to look bad as we're learning and growing. Instead of having a desire to be right, we should have a desire to learn and grow, which means at times we're going to have to be wrong. Instead of having a desire to avoid problems, we should have a desire to reach goals, which generally means we're going to have to wade through problems. Instead of having a desire to get ahead, we should have a desire to lift others, which means at times we're going to have to put ourselves on the back burner. And so these 4 positive desires are associated with the 4 positive mindsets: growth, open, promotion, and outward. And what happens is that if we could stay with these positive desires, we're keeping our neck out of our shells, which allows us to rather be in self-protection mode, be in organization advance mode or in contribution mode. And it just takes being intentional to get there. Well, 1, self-awareness, and then 2, intentionality to get there.